On July 9th, 2024, in the quiet suburban neighborhood of Marana, Arizona, just outside Tucson, a tragedy unfolded that would shock the community and spark national outrage. Christopher Schultz, a 38-year-old unemployed father of three, left his 2-year-old daughter Parker strapped in her car seat in their family's SUV parked in the driveway while he went inside their home. The temperature that day soared to 109 degrees Fahrenheit, and what Schultz later claimed was a brief 30-minute mistake turned out to be a fatal decision that lasted over 3 hours. Parker Schultz died of heat exposure in that vehicle, her small body overheating as her father remained inside the house, occupied with video games, pornography, and beer. The case became a grim reminder of the dangers of leaving children unattended in vehicles and exposed a pattern of neglect that had been building for years. Christopher Schultz was born in 1987 and raised in the southwestern United States. Little is publicly known about his early life, but by adulthood, he had married and fathered 2 older children from a previous relationship before marrying his second wife, Erica Schultz, a respected anesthesiologist. Together, Christopher and Erica had 3 daughters, including Parker, born in 2022. The family lived in a comfortable home in Marana, a growing suburb known for its family-friendly atmosphere and proximity to Tucson. Erica worked long hours at a local hospital, providing the primary income for the household, while Christopher, unemployed at the time of the tragedy, was responsible for managing the home and caring for the children. But Christopher's parenting was far from responsible. According to later testimony from his older children, Christopher had a troubling habit of leaving his kids unattended in vehicles for extended periods, sometimes while he ran errands, other times while he simply went inside to relax. His older daughters from his marriage to Erica also confirmed this pattern, telling investigators that their father frequently left all 3 girls strapped in the car while he went inside the house, often for far longer than necessary. This was not an isolated lapse in judgment. It was a recurring pattern of neglect that had been normalized in the Schultz household. On the morning of July 9th, 2024, Christopher Schultz took Parker with him on an errand. According to his initial statements to police, he returned home around 12:30 p.m. and Parker had fallen asleep in her car seat during the drive. Schultz claimed he did not want to wake her, so he left her in the vehicle with the air conditioning running and went inside the house. He told responding officers that he intended to leave her for only a short time, just long enough for her to finish her nap in comfort. But surveillance footage from neighbors' security cameras told a very different story. The footage revealed that Parker was left alone in the vehicle for approximately 3 hours, not the 30 to 45 minutes Schultz initially claimed. During that time, the outdoor temperature climbed to 109 degrees Fahrenheit, and the interior of the vehicle, despite Schultz's claims that the air conditioning was running, became a deadly oven. Prosecutors later revealed that Schultz was well aware that the vehicle's air conditioning system automatically shut off after 30 minutes when left in accessory mode, meaning Parker had been exposed to extreme heat for most of those 3 hours. While his daughters suffered and died just feet away in the driveway, Christopher Schultz was inside the house drinking beer, playing video games, and watching pornography. He made no effort to check on Parker, despite knowing the vehicle's limitations and the extreme heat outside. It was only when Erica Schultz arrived home from her shift at the hospital around 4 p.m. and asked where Parker was that Christopher rushed outside to check on his daughter. He found her unresponsive, her small body overheated and lifeless. Emergency services were called immediately. Body camera footage from responding officers captured Christopher's initial account, in which he claimed he had only left Parker outside for no more than 30-45 minutes. Paramedics worked frantically to revive Parker, but it was too late. She was transported to a nearby hospital where she was pronounced dead. The cause of death was determined to be hyperthermia. Her body temperature had risen to lethal levels in the enclosed vehicle. The investigation moved quickly. Marana Police Department detectives reviewed surveillance footage, interviewed neighbors, and examined Christopher's phone records and internet activity. What they uncovered was damning. Text messages between Christopher and Erica revealed that this was not the first time he had left the children in the car. In one text message sent to Christopher while Parker was being rushed to the hospital, Erica wrote, "I told you to stop leaving them in the car. How many times have I told you?" Christopher responded, "Babe, I'm sorry," followed by, "How could I do this? I killed our baby. This can't be real." The older children's statements corroborated Erica's frustration. They told investigators that their father routinely left them in vehicles, sometimes for extended periods, and that they had complained about it to their mother. The pattern of neglect was clear, and it had finally resulted in tragedy. On July 12, 2024, 3 days after Parker's death, Christopher Schultz was arrested and charged with second-degree murder and child abuse. The charges carried severe penalties, up to life in prison if convicted at trial. Schultz was released on bond pending trial, a decision that sparked outrage among community members and child safety advocates who felt he posed a continued risk. As the case progressed through the Pima County court system, prosecutors built a strong case. They had surveillance footage, text messages, witness testimony from the children, and forensic evidence demonstrating the extreme conditions inside the vehicle. The prosecution argued that Schultz's actions were not merely negligent, but criminally reckless, showing a depraved indifference to Parker's life. His pattern of leaving children unattended in vehicles despite repeated warnings from his wife demonstrated a willful disregard for their safety. The defense, meanwhile, sought to characterize the incident as a tragic accident, a momentary lapse in judgment by a loving father who made a terrible mistake. But the evidence of Christopher's activities while Parker died, drinking, gaming, and watching pornography, undermined any narrative of an attentive parent momentarily distracted. The defense also faced an uphill battle given the text message evidence showing Erica had repeatedly warned Christopher about this exact behavior. In October 2025, just days before jury selection was set to begin, Christopher Schultz accepted a plea deal. He pled guilty to second-degree murder and 1 count of child abuse. Under the terms of the agreement, he faced a sentence of 20 to 30 years in prison without the possibility of early release. Prosecutors noted that had the case gone to trial, Schultz could have faced life in prison or even the death penalty. The plea was seen as a pragmatic decision by both sides. Schultz avoided the possibility of a harsher sentence, and the family was spared the trauma of a lengthy trial. Sentencing was scheduled for November 21, 2025. Schultz was ordered to surrender to authorities on November 5, 2025, ahead of the formal sentencing hearing. But on the morning of November 6, 2025, just hours before he was due in court, Christopher Schultz was found dead at a residence in Phoenix. The Maricopa County Medical Examiner's Office confirmed his death, and Pima County Attorney Laura Conover stated during a press conference that Schultz had taken his own life, but the Phoenix police opened an investigation into the death. Authorities confirmed it appeared to be a suicide, though official confirmation was pending autopsy results. Pima County Attorney Laura Conover expressed frustration and sorrow at the news. This little girl's voice was nearly silenced because justice was not served appropriately this morning. But it has not and will not be silenced thanks to the hard work of the people at the Pima County Attorney's Office. She emphasized that while Schultz had avoided formal sentencing through his death, the case had brought attention to the critical issue of child safety in vehicles and the consequences of parental neglect.
The death of Christopher Schultz brought a complicated closure to the case. On one hand, his guilty plea had acknowledged responsibility for Parker's death. On the other hand, his suicide meant he would never serve the prison sentence he had agreed to, denying the family and community a sense of full justice. Erica Schultz was left to grieve not only the loss of her youngest daughter, but also the complicated legacy of her husband's actions and death. She now faced the challenge of raising their 2 surviving daughters alone while processing the trauma of losing Parker and the public scrutiny surrounding the case. The case sparked renewed calls for public awareness campaigns about the dangers of leaving children in vehicles. According to national safety organizations, dozens of children die each year in the United States from heat stroke after being left in cars, even for short periods. The interior temperature of a vehicle can rise by 20 degrees Fahrenheit in just 10 minutes, even with windows cracked. Child safety advocates use Parker's case to push for legislative changes, including mandatory reminders in vehicles to check back seats and stricter penalties for parents who leave children unattended in cars. The Marana community held vigils for Parker, with neighbors placing flowers, stuffed animals, and candles in front of the Schultz home.
Local schools and churches offered grief counseling for families affected by the tragedy. Parker's death became a symbol of preventable loss, a reminder that children's safety must always be the top priority. Christopher Schulte's death by suicide also raised questions about mental health, accountability, and the criminal justice process. Some argued that his guilt and shame drove him to take his own life, while others felt his actions were a final attempt to avoid accountability. Regardless of motive, his death meant that the formal sentencing process would not be completed, and the family would not have the opportunity to deliver victim impact statements in court. Parker Schultes is survived by her mother, Erica, and her two older sisters. Her short life was marked by innocence and the tragedy of preventable neglect. In the months following her death, Erica established a foundation in Parker's name to promote child safety and support families dealing with loss. The foundation works to educate parents about the dangers of leaving children in vehicles and advocates for technological solutions to prevent similar tragedies. The case of Christopher Schultes serves as a stark reminder of the consequences of neglect and the irreversible harm caused by preventable mistakes. It underscores the importance of vigilance, accountability, and the responsibility every parent has to protect their children. Parker's voice, though silenced far too soon, continues to echo in efforts to ensure no other child suffers the same fate. Now, go watch this case about a dad who sang the Christmas song with his son just moments before he pulled a weapon on the kid, his mom, and a newborn.